Hello everyone and welcome to A Slice of My Life. In this video, we will be talking about the K75 Pro custom mechanical keyboard by XVX. Full disclaimer, XVX sent this piece over to me to review and I'm really grateful for the opportunity, so thank you XVX. They've even given me an affiliate link which offers you a discount if you use it. You'll find the link in the description box. However, let's not get too far ahead. This is still my review, so you'll be getting my honest thoughts about it, and perhaps you can make your decision later. The K75 Pro is a compact 75% mechanical keyboard with an LCD screen in the top right, comes fully built exactly like what you see here, features an aluminum case, multiple connectivity options, and is priced at a very enticing US $99.99. To top it off, this keyboard features a unique innovation that I've never seen before. More about that later. I wanted to bring all of that up front while we are getting into the unboxing because the TLDR is that this keyboard ranks pretty high in terms of value for money. I'll be going into quite a bit of detail as we progress through this video. For now, here's what you'll be getting in the package. A user manual that tells you how to navigate the onboard menu, an accessories box that contains some extra keycaps in a different accent color for you to switch things up, a 2.4 GHz USB-A wireless dongle receiver, a keycap and switch combo puller, and a braided USB-A to USB-C cable that also comes with an organizing strap. And of course, the K75 Pro keyboard that is shrink wrapped for extra protection. Underneath it all is a sort of quick start guide. Now for some reason, I decided to take a closer look at the K75 Pro even though it was shrink wrapped. I don't know why I did that, but I did. One thing to note is that the shrink wrap is so tight that it depresses the keys on the sides of the K75 Pro. Now here's the K75 Pro once it's out of the shrink wrap. The version I have here is the powder blue colorway, and the first thing that stands out to me is that the overall colors are very vibrant, from the pastel blue tone of the case to the tri-tone keycap set. The next thing I noticed is the beveled edge around the keyboard. It's a small detail, but it's very well done. In the top right is the LCD screen, and yes, I chose to leave the screen protector on. Flipping the keyboard over reveals the clean two-tone bottom, also in aluminum, as well as the XVX logo engraved in the middle and rubber feet in each corner. Notice that there are no visible screws here. Knocking and flicking the bottom produces a pretty dense sound with virtually no audible ringing or pinging, and that adds to a sense of overall heft and quality to the K75 Pro. Here's a quick preliminary sound test using the microphone from my phone. Overall, the stock sound profile is pleasing to my ears. It's poppy and leans more towards the clacky side of things. To me, it's a pretty clean sound profile. But it definitely sounds like the left shift needs a bit of tweaking because it sounds very mushy on the left half. Here I am comparing it against other keys, and that made me scrutinize the spacebar a little more. Notice that it sounds slightly different between the left and right sides, and the left side seems to be a little sticky on the upstroke. My first suspicion is the lube job, so we'll take a closer look in a bit. Other than that, honestly, for a stock fully built keyboard at this price point, the sound profile is clean, poppy, and more on the clacky side with deeper sounding mods. Absolutely nothing to complain about here. Going around the back of the keyboard, you'll find the USB-C connector port, the power switch, and a Windows or Mac selector switch. Once you flip the power switch and turn on the keyboard, the LCD comes to life with the XVX OWL logo on boot up. The per key RGB lights also fire up. The lighting in my current recording setup is pretty bright, so it makes the per key RGB lighting look a little dim, but I still wanted to cycle through a couple of lighting effects just to give you a taste of how the key combinations work. The K75 Pro features hot swappable switches, so you can change out switches by simply removing the keycaps and then subsequently the switches with the included switch and keycap combo puller. The stock switches are XVX's medium purple switch. These are 5-pin linear switches that have a 3.4mm travel distance with an actuation force of 48 grams. It's listed on XVX's website that it's made of POM, so I'm going to have to assume that the stem, top and bottom housings are all made of POM as well. The switches come factory lubed as well, and the lube job is honestly pretty decent. mainly done on the left and right sides of the stem. Of course, if you want, you could clean them up and relube the switches according to your own preference, but this is more than good enough for a pre-built. The springs are a long, dual-stage spring, and I really like the typing feel the springs provide. Here is a less obstructed look at the RGB LEDs from the PCB. They're south-facing sockets and the LEDs are pretty bright. The opaque switch housings and the opaque keycaps obstruct most of the light. If you swap out the switches to one with a clear housing, you can expect a brighter result, and it'll be even better if you use shine-through keycaps or a set with some level of transparency. Installing switches and keycaps back are really simple. Just make sure to push the switches straight down into the sockets and you're good to go. Speaking of the keycaps, these are cherry profile PBT keycaps. They feature die-sub legends that are surprisingly sharp and are honestly of good quality. Here is a comparison of the K75 Pro keycaps against a couple of popular options in the market, GMK and PBT fans, which are both double-shot ABS keycaps. Yes, unfortunately, despite their name, most PBT fans keycap sets are made of ABS. I'm using the left shift key as a comparison because this seems to be the one key that sticks out like a sore thumb with lower quality keycaps. Looking at the underside, I'm not very knowledgeable in the realm of keycap manufacturing, but at first glance it looks obvious that GMK and PBT fans keycaps are indeed double shot and the K75 Pro keycaps are not, but I found a little opening here that alludes to this actually being a double shot keycap but with die-subbed legends. They're all comparable in terms of thickness as well, so yeah, again, solid value for the price point. Now let's check out what's inside the K75, so off comes all the keycaps and switches. Here's a first look at the plate. It's a frosted, textured polycarbonate plate. The stabs are plate-mounted clip-on stabs. They don't seem to have any particular branding here, so I'm assuming they're XVX's in-house stabs. While I definitely have my own preferences when it comes to stabs, I'm actually not too big of a snob when it comes to pre-built keyboards, so this is totally fine by me. The lube job is also pretty okay. Not the best, but it works pretty well. And here I've identified why some of the stabs are sticky. It's because of the excess lube that has overflowed from the wires onto the base. To fix this, just wipe off the excess lube. I noticed this earlier, but I did not have a good angle to show you. Some of the plate foam under the spacebar is squashed up here from the factory installation. It should be a pretty simple fix as long as the foam isn't ripped or torn. Next, we'll remove the 7 screws holding the PCB assembly in the case and then lift the entire PCB assembly out. At this step, we'll have to detach the 2 ribbon cables, but we have to be very careful here because we don't want to damage them. Get yourself a pair of tweezers and pop the connector lip upwards towards you in order to remove the ribbon cable. Now that's done, we can take a closer look at the case. Not gonna lie, I did not expect the case to be a single piece like that. I thought it would at least be made in a 2-piece construction. The ribbon cables peeking out from the slots hinted to me that there may be hidden screws on the bottom, perhaps under the rubber feet, and my hunch was right. There are 2 screws holding this cover piece in, and removing the cover reveals a 4000 mAh battery, the daughter board for the USB-C connector and switches, as well as the LCD module. You can extend the battery by adding another one, or replace the battery if you need, but other than that, there's no real reason for you to be accessing this area, so consider this as something that's more of a good to know kind of thing. Okay, let's check out the PCB assembly. First of all, there's the case foam layer on the bottom. It's quite thick and is made of poron, but what I find interesting is that it has an adhesive layer, so it's stuck onto the bottom of the PCB. I like that it at least has cutouts for all of the hot swap sockets and the connectors for the ribbon cables, but it covers up the slot for the little plastic pegs that hold the assembly together. Take note that there's also this interesting looking plastic piece here, and I'll be talking about that shortly. Circling back to the little plastic pegs, in most cases, the PCB assembly is held in via screws and a standoff of sorts, but this is the first time I'm seeing plastic pegs with little clips on each side being used to hold the full assembly together. Something different, but it's still relatively easy to work with. I'm just squeezing the 2 halves of the clips together for all of the pegs in order to lift up the polycarbonate plate. Next, we find a layer of plate foam, about 5mm thick, made out of poron as well. And here's the part that was a little out of place under the spacebar. You can see how it was squashed, but thankfully it's not torn, so it's going to be a simple case of proper realignment. After that is a layer of PE foam. I'm being extra careful not to damage it, especially around the plastic pegs because of the way they were installed. Honestly, I thought that was it, but I was surprised to find that this had PET film as well. Perhaps this is the reason why this keyboard sounds so poppy rather than a creamier, foamier sound profile. Oh, and here's one of the plastic pegs. Now I'd like to bring to your attention the interesting looking plastic piece, and this, to me, is the biggest standout feature of the keyboard. This is a reinforcement piece that is attached to a leaf spring cut out from the PCB, and there are a total of 7 of these. Okay, so I want to make sense of this because this is the first time I'm seeing this being done. The mounting style of this keyboard is a tray mount, but XVX has done it in such a way that this is kinda like a leaf spring tray mount. Having such a mechanism and making full use of a thinner, more flexible 1.2mm PCB is such a good idea. I've never seen this being done before, and here you can see how it allows for a good amount of flex. I'd also like to highlight that the PCB has a single wide flex cut along the middle, which helps to even out the flex of each leaf spring. Honestly, this is awesome. Now that we know the construction of the keyboard, let's put it back together. It's pretty simple. The case foam is still stuck to the bottom of the PCB with the PET film sitting on top, so we're just working backwards from here. Place the PE foam on top of the PET film, making sure to carefully push down around the plastic pegs. Next, we'll simply place the plate foam on top of the PE foam using the pegs for alignment and follow it up with the plate. Snap the plate down onto the pegs and check the overall alignment of the foam and other layers, and it should all be in a neat sandwich at this point. If you want, you could easily adjust the sound profile of the keyboard by playing around with removing or keeping the various sheets. Next, pop the switches back on. Just make sure to try to support the hot swap sockets from the back and push straight down. After that, reinstall the ribbon cables. I found that leaning the PCB on the back of the case to be the easiest orientation for this. Just make sure to insert the ribbon cables straight into the port before locking it down. Putting the whole PCB assembly back into the case is a little tricky because you have to take note of the tolerances. I used the mounting point screw ports as a sort of guide for the alignment and gently sort of wiggled it down into place. Before installing the screws, I wanted to make sure that the switches were all seated correctly, and since this is a wireless keyboard, I decided to make use of the lighting effects to help me out with that. I simply turned on the keyboard and changed the lighting effects to a reactive one. It doesn't matter what color hue the lights are, but I chose white so that it would be easier to see on camera. Pressing down a switch should trigger the lighting effect. If there are any switches that don't react, that means you'd have to take out the switch, check the pins, and reseat the switch. My testing yielded no issues, so I reinstalled the screws as well as the keycaps. Remember the extra keycaps in the accessories box? I wanted to change things up a little, so I busted those out and did this instead. Moving on to the K75 Pro software. This can be downloaded from the XVX website. I'll have the link below as well. Installation is straightforward, and before anyone asks, I've ran the installer file as well as the unpacked software through my virus scan and no issues were found, so I'd say it's safe. Of course, you could always run the software in a sandbox environment because the settings are flashed onto the PCB. The software has some pretty cool features like being able to choose custom RGB colors that's outside of the onboard menu, as well as other light modes like custom per key lighting and even a sound reactive mode with multiple color profiles. I dig this quite a bit actually. You can also remap keys and the function layer combo key presses here. This includes both momentary and toggle style, which is something I rarely come across. I did a bit of testing here and found out that while it's not stated anywhere in particular, you can't overwrite any existing factory function combos. So just refer to the quick start guide or the user manual for existing combos and then create your own combos outside of those and you'll be good to go. For example, I decided to use the function plus Q, W or E as my volume up, down and mute keys. Works like a charm. Lastly, use this software to upload your own GIF to be displayed on the LCD screen. If you have the know-how, you can easily create your own animations. I believe that any custom animation is limited to a total of about 140 frames, but I might be wrong here. I couldn't think of anything interesting off the top of my mind, so for this demonstration, I decided to go with this cheeky Anya Forger smiling GIF that I picked off Google image search. And that's the software. Don't think I forgot about giving you guys a sound demonstration. So now that I've gone through everything, here's my thoughts on the XVX K75 Pro custom mechanical keyboard. Let me quickly recap the features you'll be getting for that price point first. It's a fully built custom mechanical keyboard that's ready to be used out of the box, has a CNC'd aluminum case, offers 5 different connectivity modes, comes with a 4000 mAh battery, a physical toggle switch to swap between Windows and Mac profiles, comes assembled with case foam, PET film, PE foam, plate foam, and a polycarbonate plate, 1.2mm PCB with flex cuts and a unique leaf spring tray mount system, per key RGB LEDs, hot swap sockets, plate mounted stabilizers that have been pre-lubed, XVX's medium purple linear switches that are factory lubed, die-subbed PBT keycaps with some extras for you to mix and match or swap out, a keycap and switch combo puller, USB connector cable, a customizable LCD screen with an onboard menu, on-the-fly settings via function key combinations, and software that provides even further customizability. What I like in particular about this keyboard is the overall design, construction, and finish of the keyboard. I love how the outer edges are all nicely chamfered and beveled. Even the inside edges are all nicely chamfered. The overall quality and fitment of the CNC'd aluminum case is very good. The finish is quite good as well. It's an electrostatic powder coat finish that has a very fine texture and feels really good to the touch. The stock sound profile is also a very pleasant one that is poppy and sounds very lively, and the medium purple linear switches are a joy to type on. The K75 Pro provides a comfortable and enjoyable typing experience straight out of the box, with a good amount of room for customizability in terms of swapping out switches with the hot swap sockets and adjusting the sound profile via adding or removing various layers of the PCB assembly. For $99.99, it's almost a no-brainer. The biggest con I have for this is, because of the screen, this isn't VIA compatible by nature, so you have no choice but to use their proprietary software for customization. I love VIA and I've said this many times before, but that's just me being a snob and standing firm on my preferences. It's still a damn solid keyboard that punches way above its price point. So with all that said, if you're interested in snagging yourself a K75 Pro, check out the link in the description. If you're looking to get your feet wet in the custom mechanical hobby, or as a gift for someone that might be interested in the hobby, or if you're looking to pull someone down the rabbit hole with you with a mechanical keyboard as a Trojan horse, then the K75 Pro will give you a solid bang for your buck. And that is it, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing in this slice of my life. If you were on the fence about the K75 Pro, then I hope this review will help you make a better informed decision. If you enjoyed this video, please click the likey. Please also consider subscribing, and if you do, hit the notification bell as well. Every sub helps the channel out a lot, and if you're already a subscriber, thank you. Once again everyone, this is the XVX K75 Pro custom mechanical keyboard. Another big shout out to XVX for reaching out and allowing me to share my honest thoughts about their product. And I will catch all of you in my next slice. Bye!